I, 30SM, and my wife, 30SF, got married recently. We were together for 6 years before marriage and engaged for 3, delayed the wedding twice because of COVID. Her mental health has always been a struggle, depression, ADHD, anxiety, but during the relationship it feels like it's slowly been getting worse, and COVID was really bad. She really struggled with not seeing people during the height of the pandemic, and anxiety from a family health scare. During this time she lost her job but got a new one quickly after that was remote, but therefore more irregular with hours. I have always tried my best to be supportive, and she said in the past that she felt I was the only person she's ever met who made her feel she could become who she wants to be. But I suppose that stopped being true at some point. A few months after our wedding, she got COVID and also had long COVID symptoms for a while. It was very difficult mentally and physically. I think she was mostly recovered after several months when she got COVID again and long COVID symptoms again. We knew better how to manage it, so it improved slightly faster, but stress-wise, it all became too much. After she got COVID the second time, we started being much more careful with our masking. We only ate indoors for important occasions, and wore masks in bars. We sat outside in the winter at any place that still had outdoor seating. But after her second COVID recovery, she spiraled into a depression worse than I had seen before. She decided to take a leave from work. During the depressive episode and leave, I fed her, did all the household chores, and worked full-time. During her leave, she started improving. She attempted to do many things, like take classes, but the only thing that she really did consistently was yoga. Her sleep schedule was really inconsistent from the depression, so she would often struggle to go to sleep, resulting in being up late and then napping, and continuing to cycle with late sleep times. This meant that she would take later yoga classes, after dinner, and then have energy. She would say she's going to go to a bar with friends from the class, or that she was going to draw at some bar after. Or that she needed to think about therapy, etc. Usually she would say her intention was to be at the bar for an hour or 2 and then come home. But she would inevitably say, just another 2 hours while I think about things, and do that again, until bars closed. Then she'd come home, sometimes drunk. During recovery from a depressive episode and long COVID, I thought this was an unhealthy coping mechanism, and it made her sleep even worse. It meant she'd sleep through the day and not get vitamin D, and sleep quality is so crucial for mental health as well. I would say my thoughts on this, but she's always been defensive about feedback from me. I've journaled about this many times and talked to her about it, including asking her to talk to her therapist about it, but during our couples therapy sessions we never really got to issues I had with her communication. We only talked about methods I should use to ensure I don't trigger her from past trauma and how we can both de-escalate, very valuable things, of course. But this time I suppose was too much. During her times out, guys would talk to her. Eventually one wore her down and she made out with him. She gave him her alternate email and they'd meet up to make out, eventually having sex. She also met 2 other people who she told she wanted something purely physical with, but she says she never had physical sex with them. She would send dirty texts to them and masturbate to their texts. I discovered this when I picked up her phone to charge it when she was napping. We have each other on Face ID and thumbprint, and when you start charging, the screen lights up and shows past notifications. I saw a weird text, so I opened her phone and looked at it. I didn't think it was suspicious when I clicked on it and had literally 0 suspicions until I realized what I was actually reading. I looked at it purely with curiosity because we were so open otherwise, I thought. I was distraught, but I also saw that this guy sent emails to her alternate email that she doesn't keep open by default. I sent myself the emails so she couldn't deny anything later. She woke up from her nap and we talked and cried. I was so broken and numb. But her remorse seemed so complete, and she said that she was dying to be wanted and feel young and alive. She said she never wanted to be with anyone else. She said she's fucked up, mentally, and she's so sorry she's destroyed our marriage too. I wanted to work on this, her mental health, and us, and I told her I wanted to be with her. The next day was hard, but we seemed to get through it somehow. Then she had a therapist appointment. We talked about it afterward. Her therapist seemed to tell her, "She's never done this before, so it isn't who she is." She was feeling trapped and wanted attention. The leave from work and freedom is working for her mental health, which is true. It was a violation of privacy the way I discovered it. And during this conversation, all these things she said very defensively and with an attitude of blaming me for her actions. I was not happy about the perceived lack of guilt. Over the next few days, she seemed to take responsibility and I had hope for our growth from this. But then she wanted to think about what to do about her job after an afternoon yoga class. This was 5 days after I found out. After, she delayed when she'd come home again. And again. I told her to take her time until she told me she'd be home by 2. I said she can't do the exact thing she did when she cheated this soon after cheating. How can she expect me to trust her? She had location sharing on her phone and I went to the bar she was at. I told her this again in person. She said she was staying until 2 and that's how it was. I left, and she did come home later. I don't think she cheated or anything. After couples therapy the day after, she had another therapist appointment a few hours later. After that, she's basically not been home. She has told me semi-loose plans, having dinner with a certain friend, but not more than that. She says she needs space. She'll come home late and sleep on the couch until I wake up, then go sleep in our bed until it's time to leave the house again. Based on our couples therapy session, I think she is going to demand changes from me so she doesn't feel trapped. I don't want her to feel trapped. I want her to be healthy and to have healthy coping mechanisms and to want to be with me. She still texts "I love you" to me, but she hasn't said she loves me in a week. I am so scared she wants to separate more completely. Not only for my sake, but hers. She's had suicidal ideation and I just want her to be okay. I think she has projected her parents' relationship onto me and will see anything I do as controlling or annoying at this point. I think her therapist has heard her talk about me this way as well and is encouraging separation. I don't think her therapist is wrong based on what she's heard, but I think it's possible my wife is being selective about what she tells the therapist. For example, she didn't tell the therapist she was cheating on me for the 2 months it was happening. I would guess that she also wasn't telling the therapist how often she was going out alone drinking. At our next couples therapy session, I think I'm going to be told she's moving out, and if I don't want that, I'll be controlling her again. I don't know how it's come to this. When the couples therapist found out, she told me, just because she feels trapped does not mean that you are trapping her. But I am scared that my wife, who definitely has felt I walk over her in conversations, is choosing now to put her foot in the sand. It feels like the most unfair time and decision, but I don't want to lose her and start my whole life over. I also don't want to acquiesce to this and have her think she is right to think I want to control her. That would result in a life of her resenting me in her mind. I know I'm not blameless. We got couples therapy before this happened for a reason. I am argumentative and she gets triggered by confrontation from past trauma. We have worked on it a lot and I am doing better, but I'm not perfect. But above all else I want her to be happy and healthy, and I thought she knew that. So how can she think that I want to control her instead of thinking she's coping unhealthily? I don't know how I came across with this text, but I am kind of numb right now writing it. I can't stress enough that I try in every conversation to understand, even if she feels I am just trying to win or if the conversation gets heightened by my tone or her trauma. It's the number one thing we've talked about, and it hurts so much that she really thinks I want to control her, even though what I am proposing, not demanding, is as mild as being at home by midnight on weekdays and trying to sleep well for her mental health. Wife cheated for 2 months. Felt I was being controlling because suggestions for what to do about COVID and depression. is probably going to demand space and to be treated differently. I am torn between not wanting to lose her and feeling like it is totally unfair to focus on how I need to be better rather than her mental health and our communication.